Barty sis. Buckle up, my little truffles, because the internet is about to catch fire this week, and I need every last one of you locked in for what I am about to lay on this table. If you thought the last round of chaos between Cardi B and Stefon Diggs was loud, honey, that was a whisper. What is unfolding right now is a full-blown detonation, and by the time this video ends, you are going to understand exactly why the entire industry is holding its breath. Because Stefon Diggs finally opened his mouth, Chris Blake doubled down like a man with nothing left to lose, and DJ Akademiks just got hit with a lawsuit so suspicious it practically has Roc Nation's fingerprints smeared all over the paperwork. Grab your snacks. Grab your notepads. Grab whoever you love arguing with in the comments section, because everything you are about to hear is alleged, but the pattern, my little truffles, the pattern is screaming so loud the neighbors can hear it. Let me walk you through the storm step by step, because if we do not slow down, you will miss how surgically all of this was orchestrated. First up, Cardi B, because the woman keeps finding herself dragged into every scandal orbiting Stefon Diggs, and the receipts are starting to talk louder than her PR team can shout. Chris Blake sat down for a full interview, and what Chris Blake described is not the story of a thief. It is the story of a man who says he was cornered inside a multimillionaire's fortress and left running through an airport with no shoes on his feet. So the question is simple, sis. Why is Stefon Diggs so desperate to control this narrative? And why is Cardi B lending her platform to a version of the story that keeps rewriting itself in real time? Trust me, this is about to detonate. Let me set the room for you. Chris Blake, according to his own account, was locked inside a mansion with a gate taller than a full-grown man, a gate that only opens like a vault. Chris Blake says Stefon Diggs pulled up on him in a way that no professional would ever pull up on a colleague. Chris Blake says Stefon Diggs put his tongue against his ear the moment they climbed out of the vehicle. Chris Blake says he was frozen, unable to dip, unable to dodge, unable to process the fact that a man he respected was suddenly acting like somebody Chris Blake did not sign up to be alone with. And then, 7 days later, Chris Blake says 3 silent men appeared at his downtown Los Angeles apartment, tried to key their way into his unit, and made a phone call in the middle of the encounter that Chris Blake believes was placed straight to the person who wanted him gone. Read that back to yourself, my little truffles. Read it slow, because that is not a robbery. That is a hunting party. Now, Stefon Diggs came flying onto Instagram this week, swinging like a man who forgot the internet keeps receipts. Stefon Diggs called Chris Blake a thief. Stefon Diggs called Chris Blake obsessed. Stefon Diggs said Chris Blake was caught red-handed carrying a luggage full of belongings out of his home. And Stefon Diggs kept insisting that the entire fallout came from a botched robbery inside the mansion, not from anything Stefon Diggs did with his own 2 hands. But here is the part that has the timeline in absolute stitches. Stefon Diggs already told the world, in his own words, that Chris Blake left that house with nothing. No luggage. No shoes. Nothing. So which is it, Stefon Diggs? Did the man leave with a whole rolling suitcase? Or did he leave with bare feet? Because the story cannot be both, and the audience is not going to keep pretending it can. And that, my little truffles, is where Cardi B keeps making herself part of a mess she did not need to touch. Cardi B jumped onto her platform recently claiming Chris Blake is a serial liar spinning wild variations of the same tale. But I sat down and rewatched every single interview Chris Blake has done, from Tasha K to the smaller outlets nobody else bothered to check, and Chris Blake has told the exact same story from day one. Same order of events. Same names. Same locations. Same details about that gate, that elevator, that phone call in the hallway. Cardi B, sweetheart, if you are going to insert yourself into a courtroom-level scandal, at least make sure the man you are defending is not contradicting himself in front of the entire nation. Cardi B has a career worth protecting, a fan base worth respecting, and a brand worth guarding, and burning all 3 of them on behalf of a man whose Instagram posts do not survive their own screenshots is not the flex Cardi B thinks it is. Because here is what everybody at home needs to remember. The elevator footage I am talking about DJ Akademiks. And I need y'all to buckle up because what is happening to DJ Akademiks is not a coincidence. It is a coordinated campaign, and anyone who has been watching the chessboard for the past year saw this coming from 6 moves away. DJ Akademiks was hit with a civil lawsuit this week accusing him of sexual assault dating back to 2022. And the timing, my little truffles, is not just suspicious. The timing is theatrical. The timing is choreographed. The timing has stage lights on it. Let me connect the dots for you, because if you have not been watching Roc Nation move like a syndicate lately, you have been missing the entire subplot. For months, DJ Akademiks has been publicly, repeatedly, and flat-out refusing to align himself with Jay-Z's camp. DJ Akademiks refused the interviews. DJ Akademiks refused the soft landings. DJ Akademiks refused the invitations to sit down with Shalom and play nice. And every single time DJ Akademiks slammed that door, another one of Roc Nation's competitors mysteriously got smaller. The Breakfast Club sold their credibility years ago. Joe Budden's numbers do not move like they used to. Ebro is barely a footnote in the conversation. So who is left standing? DJ Akademiks. And that made DJ Akademiks a target the second he decided he would not kneel. That made DJ Akademiks the loudest independent microphone in the entire hip-hop ecosystem. And the loudest independent microphone is always the first one somebody powerful tries to unplug. Whispers running down the wire have been saying for months that Roc Nation wanted DJ Akademiks to turn against Drake, turn against Nicki, and become the mouthpiece for whatever narrative Jay-Z's team wanted pushed into the culture that week. DJ Akademiks did not just decline. DJ Akademiks torched the offer, and he did it in public. That sit-down between DJ Akademiks and Shalom did not go the way anybody in that boardroom wanted it to go. Instead of DJ Akademiks folding, Shalom got dragged into questions about her seat at the table for that NYC casino project everybody has been hush-hush about. And once that happened, DJ Akademiks was no longer just a nuisance. DJ Akademiks was a liability. And in the industry we are watching, liabilities do not get warnings. Liabilities get lawsuits. So here comes the lawsuit. Right on schedule. Not filed by law enforcement. Not accompanied by criminal charges. Not backed by any prior public statement from the alleged victim. Just a quiet civil complaint slid onto a docket at exactly the moment DJ Akademiks refused to be recruited. And the media rollout, My Little Truffles, was flawless. Rolling Stone had the coverage ready. National platforms picked it up within hours. The name DJ Akademiks was suddenly attached to the two words no commentator can survive being attached to. That is not journalism. That is a controlled demolition, and anybody with two working eyes and a functioning memory can see the blueprint being laid brick by brick. Now, I am not the court. I am not a jury. And every last thing I am telling you is alleged. But let me ask y'all this. When was the last time a man who refused a Roc Nation? All of them are watching DJ Akademiks right now to see whether independence is still allowed to exist inside this industry, or whether it just got outlawed under a civil filing. All right, now, let me swing back to the Chris Blake and Stefon Diggs situation, because there is one more layer I need y'all to sit with. Chris Blake has been holding a level of composure in these interviews that I honestly did not expect. Chris Blake described being shoved into a car without knowing where the vehicle was going. Chris Blake described arriving at Reagan National Airport barefoot, spotting John Wall in the terminal, and trying to hide his face because he knew he looked unhinged walking through a public airport with no shoes on his feet. Chris Blake described the sheer terror of realizing, in real time, that a man he trusted may have wanted him dead. And through all of that, Chris Blake never lost track of his story. Chris Blake never contradicted his own timeline. Chris Blake never once slipped into the kind of theatrical embellishments a liar drifts into when he is repeating the tale for the 10th time. You know what tells you everything about a witness? Consistency. And Chris Blake has been consistent since the very first interview. Same gate. Same elevator. Same 3 men. Same silent phone call. Same downtown LA apartment. Same fear that whoever was on the other end of that phone was giving instructions that would not have ended with Chris Blake walking out of that building alive. So when Cardi B, or anyone else swinging at the ankles of this story, tries to reframe Chris Blake as a liar, I need y'all to hold the receipts up to the light and check them yourselves. Because the timeline does not lie. The elevator footage does not lie. And Chris Blake's story, however uncomfortable it makes Stefon Diggs, has not moved an inch since the day it was first told. And here is where the floor drops, because there is a bigger picture forming above all of this, and it is not comfortable to look at. The same industry that keeps producing men in expensive homes with tall gates and hallway cameras keeps producing victims who tell nearly identical stories. The same industry that keeps demanding silence keeps punishing the people who refuse to give it. The same industry that dresses up its power brokers in cinematic press runs keeps burying the ones who dare to ask uncomfortable questions. Stefon Diggs is not the beginning of a pattern. DJ Akademiks is not the end of one. They are both, in different ways, standing inside the same machine. And the machine is not subtle anymore. The machine is not even trying to hide. The machine is filing lawsuits in broad daylight and daring the audience to say something about it. So the question I want y'all to hold on to is this. Why does every man who says no to that machine end up staring down a lawsuit, a smear campaign, or a viral scandal within weeks of the refusal? DJ Akademiks said no, and here comes a civil suit. Chris Blake said no to silence. And here comes a wave of thief accusations from a man who cannot keep his own timeline straight. Nicki Minaj said no years ago, and she has been in a cold war with the top of the industry ever since. Do you see it yet? Because I need y'all to see it, and I need y'all to say it out loud in the comments. Because that is the only way the pattern stops being ignored. The only weapon a machine like this cannot deflect is a room full of people who finally start naming it out loud. Now, let me hand y'all one more thing before I let you go, because the messiest development of this week is one nobody is quite ready to say on camera. There are whispers running down the wire that Stefon Diggs' team has been quietly reaching out to journalists this month, offering exclusive angles on the Chris Blake situation, angles that conveniently paint Chris Blake as unstable and Stefon Diggs as a wounded father who was betrayed by a friend. Word ricocheting through the block is that at least two of those journalists laughed the pitch out of the room, because the angles did not survive a single fact-check. Alleged, alleged, alleged. But ask yourself, why does a man who is confident in his innocence need to pitch angles to journalists at all? Why does an innocent man need a spin room? Why does an innocent man need a favorable headline more than he needs a fair one? And Cardi B, if you are watching, sis, and you know you are because your team monitors every commentary channel that mentions your name, I need you to sit this one out. Cardi B has built one of the loudest careers in modern hip-hop on being fearless, unfiltered, and hilarious. Cardi B does not need to burn that goodwill defending a partner whose own social media posts contradict each other in the span of a single week. Cardi B, sweetheart, sometimes the smartest move is silence. And right now, silence is the only move that keeps Cardi B's brand out of the shrapnel. Because if this thing detonates the way I think it is about to detonate, every single person who publicly co-signed Stefon Diggs during this stretch is going to be answering questions they never wanted to answer. And Cardi B has too much career left to spend the next 12 months explaining a bad Instagram post. DJ Akademiks, on the other hand, does not have the luxury of silence, because DJ Akademiks is the target of the strike. DJ Akademiks has to speak. DJ Akademiks has to fight. DJ Akademiks has to prove, in a court of law, that everything the timeline suspects about the origins of this lawsuit is exactly what it looks like. And I am telling y'all right now, if DJ Akademiks pulls receipts on the recruitment attempts, if DJ Akademiks pulls receipts on the sit-down with Shalom, if DJ Akademiks pulls receipts on the conversations that happened after he refused, this case is not going to end quietly. This case is going to blow the doors off Roc Nation's press room. This case is going to force a conversation the industry has been dodging for a decade, and DJ Akademiks is the last commentator with the nerve and the reach to actually force it into the daylight. Ice cold. Wow. Because think about what that would mean. Every commentator who was pressured, every podcaster who was quietly bought, every so-called journalist who took the meeting and delivered the desired coverage. All of it exposed in a court filing. That is not a lawsuit. That is a hand grenade with a countdown clock. And DJ Akademiks is holding the pin. And every executive whose name is not supposed to be within 1,000 miles of this case is right now, in some tinted window office, praying that DJ Akademiks blinks before that pin comes out. Let me swing back to Stefon Diggs one more time, because I need y'all to catch a detail most other commentators skated right past. In his Instagram tirade, Stefon Diggs described Chris Blake as weird for continuing to post about him. But if y'all read the actual posts Chris Blake has been sharing, Chris Blake is not obsessed with Stefon Diggs. Chris Blake is obsessed with clearing his own name. Those are two very different postures. One is stalking. The other is survival. And any grown man who cannot tell the difference is a grown man who is banking on the audience being too distracted to notice the substitution. Stefon Diggs is hoping y'all confuse a survivor's persistence for a stalker's fixation. And that hope, my little truffles, is exactly the trick abusers have been running for the last 100 years. Stefon Diggs also mocked Chris Blake for wanting sympathy. But sympathy is not what Chris Blake is asking for. Chris Blake is asking for accountability. Chris Blake is asking for the elevator footage to be treated as evidence instead of a viral clip. Chris Blake is asking for the same institutions that would have destroyed him if the roles were reversed to at least entertain the idea that a wealthy athlete might be capable of wrongdoing. And Stefon Diggs, instead of engaging with any of that, chose to lean on the oldest playbook in the book. Call the accuser crazy. Call the accuser obsessed. Call the accuser a thief. And hope the audience picks the louder voice instead of the truer one. That playbook worked in 1998. That playbook worked in 2008. That playbook does not work in 2026, and Stefon Diggs is about to learn that the hard way. But this audience is not that audience anymore, honey. This audience has watched Diddy fall. This audience has watched R. Kelly fall. This audience has watched enough elevator footage to know exactly what a cover-up smells like. And no amount of Instagram captions from Stefon Diggs is going to rewrite what that hallway camera already caught on tape. Because the culture has finally learned how to read the room, my little truffles, and the room is telling on itself louder than any statement Stefon Diggs's PR team can draft. Alright, let me close the loop on all three storylines, because I want y'all to see how tightly they braid together. DJ Akademiks is being punished for refusing to bend. Chris Blake is being punished for refusing to stay quiet. Nicki Minaj is being punished for refusing to shrink. 3 different people. 3 different scandals. 1 identical machine. And the fact that all 3 of these stories are detonating in the same news cycle is not a coincidence, my little truffles. It is a message. The machine is trying to remind everyone why